Good morning. Welcome back to the channel. We're doing this VR kind of an IK thing. Not really an IK thing. Not too many people care about these XR fusion videos, so this is probably going to be the last one, but I think we're going to cover the rest of the topics that we wanted to. Let's just go ahead and show where we're at so far. Okay, initialize XR and startup. Good. All right. Let's enter a name. It's going to be G, create a room, and hopefully my player spawns in. Yep. There I am. Now hopefully I can move. Oh, I can't move. Well, let's fix the not moving thing. Speaking of fixing things, I don't know if you can hear that beeping in the background. That's my microwave because my coffee pot it quit working. It's just like probably a $30 Mr. Coffee pot. And one way you can help me with that is by checking out my Patreon page. I'm so tired right now. For the low price of $3.60 a month, you can become a supporter of the channel and help buy me coffee. What I've had to do right now is got on Amazon and ordered some thermal fuses because the pot turns on, it just won't heat up. I am not an electrician, but I opened up the bottom of my coffee pot, and there's just two little fuses in there, and I think if I get two new ones and wire them in, it'll work again, hopefully. But let's do this. So, the reason we're not moving is originally we were trying to use the starter assets as much as possible from Unity. We just kind of gave up on that. My microwave just beeped and reminded me that my hot water's in there, so I can try to... What I'm doing is taking hot water from my coffee cup, pouring it to the top of my coffee maker in just a little bit of grounds. It's filling a cup's worth of coffee into my pot, and then I'm pouring the pot into my cup. Be right back. All right, what were we talking about? So we have our XR Interaction Manager, but we don't have like a locomotion system. And what's great about Unity is that you can just do VR stuff so easy. And I think we probably talked about this in a previous episode, can't remember. We're just right-clicking in the hierarchy, clicking on XR, and we're going to go to Locomotion System. And it doesn't let you choose the locomotion system you want, which is kind of weird. We're not going to teleport because that's old school. We're not going to snap turn because that's old school. I'm going to go ahead and drop the XR origin in here, although it would probably find it. And then we're going to add continuous move provider, action-based. And let's just go ahead. We're going to move with our left joystick. So I'm going to click use reference. I mean, you could set it up here, but we already have the references. So we're going to use reference, left hand. We gotta make this smaller. Left hand move. Hopefully we covered this in a previous episode because I've like re-recorded these XR ones like 3 or 4 times because getting the hand and head movement it's not that it's hard, it's just that if you're not doing it every day, it's just you forget stuff. Oh, we gotta see what our forward source is. I'm just gonna click on that and type main, get the main camera from the scene. And let's add our continuous turn provider, action-based. And it wants to know where the locomotion system is for both of these. It probably would find it, but we'll put it there. Oh, I want my move speed on the move to be 3. And then we're going to use right hand to turn. Right hand. There it is. Turn. Nope. Turn. Great. All right, there I am. Let's see if I can move now. Hooray! But my arms aren't moving. My arms aren't moving. My head's not moving because we set up everything when it was in the scene and we now need to do it programmatically. So we're still in play mode and we're going to check and see. Not check and see, I mean, I know why, but let's go see in person why it's mad. Skeleton, rig. Here's our rig. Here's our head constraint, but we have no source objects. I never set up the right arm. Didn't I set that up? And the end of the video, I said I was gonna set it up, and I assumed I did, but apparently I did not. So I have to set that up too. I'll do that off camera. We just have the left hand set up. So as you can see, on the left hand target, we got to set the source object too. When we're done here, if you're interested in doing a full IK setup, I didn't know that anyone even had a video for VR on it at all, because I've looked and I had to figure this out on my own a few years ago, and you can see I don't use it all the time because it's a pain. I use Final IK. But I think it's Valem, popular YouTuber, game developer, sets up the whole thing, and does like one thing a little bit different than me, which he takes these hints. And you know how I was like really picky about doing it at the elbow? He showed that you don't really need to care about that. Like, as he drops the hint, like just down here, way on the ground, and like way in the back. And he also covers the legs too. And he puts the leg hints like just in front of the player anywhere on the ground. And what he does is he basically sets up VRIK from Final IK himself with his own script. He basically does, what do they call that? I don't know. It's a inverse kinematics movement. We're not doing inverse kinematics movement. I mean, we're technically using inverse kinematics to control the arms because it's using that hint and whatnot. Well, Unity's doing it. But he actually wrote a script, and I think he just makes it publicly available. So I'll put a link in the description to at least his second YouTube video where he actually covers setting it up for VR. But there's another video before that where he actually writes the script on how he actually does movement with procedural motion or whatever. Or you can just get Final IK, like I said, and it just drags and drops and it just works. In fact, in one of my latest projects, and comment down below if you want me to do a video on one of the projects I set up with it. But I literally set up, I set up nothing for like connecting movement to animations. I literally just did the bare bones of just getting the VRIK rig set up, and then I just move my character around and it just works. It's pretty dang amazing. So yeah, anywho's, that was a long little bit. So let's, first, let me set up the right arm. I'll be right back. Real quick, this is a trick that I learned. I think it was Valem. So imagine that I was setting up this 2-bone IK constraint for the first time. I could just come in here and drag and drop the tip, and then right-click, auto setup from tip transform, and it goes ahead and gets the lower and upper arm. How cool is that? Let me make sure it's got those things. Great. Here's a quick tip that can speed up your ability to go into play mode. Go to project settings. This isn't on by default. Should be. Go to editor. And then go down to enter play mode settings. Turn on enter play mode options. And what takes so long when you hit play is the reload domain. So with this unchecked, it does both of these. With it checked, you pick what you want it to do. You want it to reload scene, so it refreshes your scene. But if you leave reload domain off, you go into play mode so fast. Boom, I'm already in play mode. And I already see it in my headset. All right, after finagling on my right arm target, this is what I got it to look like. So on the wrist bone, looks like we got a 90-degree angle with the Y going backwards, the Z going straight down, the X on the inside. You can finagle that as much as you want. I'm not going to spend any more time on that. What I'm going to do now is we have to, well, first, since I was adjusting this in scene view, I need to go apply all the changes to my prefab. And then I'm going to delete my prefab. And then I'm going to open my prefab. And what do we have here on the player as far as logic goes? We have player stats. All right, so let's create a new script. And this is going to be, we're just going to call this, I don't know, what are we going to call this? Setup animation rigging. All right, that's finished compiling. So let's open up the script. And what are we going to do in here? We're probably going to wait until on start, because I'm just betting if we do it on awake, everything won't be awake yet. Haha. So we're going to be using Unity's animation rigging, but let's go look at the rig. Let's look at right arm. Here's our 2-bone IK constraint. What does it look like if we go in and look at this script? All right, so here's the namespace that we need to use. So I'm just going to copy that, and we're going to go in here. Oh, gonna sneeze. Oh, I thought I was going to sneeze. Didn't sneeze, but I pasted the namespace there. All right. And we're going to need to get we need our 2-bone IK constraints. So we need public 2-bone IK constraint. We're going to call this right arm. We'll call it right arm 2-bone. And then gotta love 2020, what is it, 2022 Visual Studio. It's so dang smart on its IntelliSense autofill. All right, so we have those. So if we come back over here, you know what? I gotta turn on Do Not Disturb. All right, so if we go to my player, and let's just lock this so I don't accidentally scroll off of it. Oh, we didn't put the script on the player yet, so let's do that. There it is. So where's our right arm? And then there's our left arm. And what do we need from here? What do we need from here? Unlocking. So we already have our source object, so we don't really need any of that. Really, we don't need to get those. We need to get our targets. So let's edit that. We need to get our, what is that called? Multi-parent constraint. Right arm target. Copy, paste, left arm target. By the way, if you don't know how I'm just replacing those so quick, just double click and it highlights that whole section. You can retype it. Okay, so we're getting those. So we need to come back over here after we compile. All right, so let's click on our player and scroll down to this again, and then let's put in our targets. Right arm target, left arm target. Oh, we also need our head, right? We need our head constraint. So let's add that. What is it doing? It's multi-aim. Okay, so let's go do that. All right, so here's the player again. Let's collapse all this so I don't have to scroll down so much. All right, so we need to get our head constraint in there. Where'd you go? There it is. All right, head constraint. So we should have all the components that we need. So now what we need to do is we need to we can have a private, these are transforms, aren't they? Yeah. So we need private transform. What are we using for the head? What were we using for the head look at? XR origin, main camera. We were using the looker, I think. Probably. So private transform, camera looker. And then we also need right controller, left controller. So we will use the awake method. And so camera looker is going to equal game object dot find looker. That's going to take a while to find, but our hierarchy's not too bad. I hate finding things. And then it's going to be the transform of that. And then our right controller. We're just going to find this as well. It's just right controller, isn't it? Right hand controller. And left controller. Oh, you see, I forgot to do the transform. Left controller equals game object dot find paste dot transform. And one thing we also need to do here, we're going to change this up just a little bit. Because we only want to be doing this if this is ours. So we're going to go over to our get player camera script. And we're just going to copy the whole start state. And we're going to come over here. And we're just going to replace our start state. We do want to get the network object. So we're going to do using Fusion. But we don't need to get the third person controller for this. And we're not doing any of that stuff. But we're not going to do this in Awake. Now we're going to do this here. We can get rid of Awake. So on start, we get the network object. And if we have authority of this network object, then we're going to do this stuff. All right, so we have that. So now let's come down here and let's say our camera looker. No, our right arm target. Let's start with that. So that's our multi-parent constraint. If I click on it, I type in source, we get nothing. Our right arm target is our multi-parent constraint. Wow. You seriously don't have anything to set your sources? All right, so here's what I think we need to do. So I opened up the multi-parent constraint, and you can see when we do, we get this public struct called multi-parent constraint data. So we're looking for data. So if we come back over here and type dot data. All right, so now that we have the data, maybe now we can do sources. Yes, source objects. But the source objects are a weighted transform array. So we're going to say source objects dot add. Adds an item to the weighted transform array. And now we might also, so we don't have to do a new array. Good, it's already got one here. So it's already got at least one thing available. So we're going to add, and we're just going to add the weighted transform value. So we need a weighted transform. And this is going to be the right arm weighted transform equals right arm target. And we shouldn't need to say, oh, wait a minute. No, not that. It's the right controller. But that's not working. So we're probably going to need to do a new weighted transform, and I imagine it wants a transform, which would be our right controller. Yes, and then our float weight, we're going to set it to 1. All right, so just to show you what we've done, is this array is wanting a weighted transform, and it also wants to know what weight we want to do. Because this array, you can have multiple source objects. We're not using multiple source objects, we just need one. So we have to create the weighted transform. Once we have it, then we can add it to the source objects. So right arm weighted transform, and now it's happy. So we just have to reproduce this now for the left controller. So I just copy pasted, and I just changed rights to lefts everywhere where there was rights. All right, so now we need to do the head as well. Let's just double check because it's a different component. Our head constraint, source objects, is probably still a weighted transform. So let's just see if we can get away with copy pasting it again. So we have our weighted transform, and this is going to be our head weighted transform. And it's going to be our camera looker. And then we're going to take our head constraint, .data.sourceObjects.add head weighted transform. Cool. So if we have state authority, we're going to find these 3 game objects. We're going to create new weighted transforms for each of them, and then we're going to add them to our multi-parent constraints and our multi-aim constraints. So in theory, whenever we go play this now, I should be able to control the player's arms and head whenever we spawn into the scene. So it didn't work. If we look at our head constraint, there's no source object. If we look at our left-hand target, there's no source object. Our right arm target, no source object. I'm not even hear my kid next to me. So let's just add some debug logs to figure out. So let's just debug log here that says setup animation rigging has state authority. And then let's do an else. Debug.log setup animation rigging does not. Come on, does not have state authority. All right, and then I'm going to play again and see what happens. All right, so we did get that we have state authority. It's here in the console. We have state authority. But, where's our guy? There's our guy. Skeleton, rig, right arm target, nothing. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change these from private to public. Also, when you're in play mode in VR, it's not that big a deal, but don't save a script when you're in play mode. Make sure you stop. Otherwise, Unity and Oculus get confused. And the next time you hit play, like it'll stop playback, but when you hit play again, it won't work the next time. Not a big deal. You can just hit play again, but just keep that in mind. All right, so now that I've saved the script, we're going to recompile. I'm going to hit play. All right, so here's our player. And as you can see, it found the looker, it found the right-hand controller, it found the left-hand controller. So that didn't work. This is very similar to something else that does something similar. And I'm wondering, instead of add, if we use set. See how it has set transform when we tell it the index? So we're going to set the transform. All of them should be 0 index. And then we don't even need this weighted transform. Can I do that and then alt and then alt and then slash? No. I thought there was a way to select multiple lines, but I'll figure that out later. And so now this doesn't want that weighted transform. Now we just got to put the transform. So right controller. And we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to do set transform at index 0. And this is going to be left controller. And this is going to be set transform. And this is going to be camera looker. Oh, we need to put our index. Okay. So let's see if that works. I'm starting to think this isn't possible at runtime. I'm going to try one more idea, and then we'll ask ChatGPT. So what we will do is we're going to go ahead and create a weighted transform array. So let's do a weighted transform array, right arm array equals new weighted transform array. And can we say, it does have an overload, which I imagine we can say like how big it is. So let's say it's size 1. I'm just guessing that's what that is. Yeah, and size, great. Okay, and so now we need a weighted transform. And so we have it. And then we're going to say right arm array, and it's going to add, no, we're not going to add it. We're going to set it. Right arm array, but I don't want to set transform. I have no idea if this will work because we're doing the same thing. We're still telling it what index we want it. But see, I don't want to. How do we add? I guess now we just add it. But if we're adding the right arm weighted transform, and we don't set the length here, arrays don't necessarily like it if you try to add things to them without resizing them. So maybe this method takes care of it. Let's click on it. This array cannot have more than blank items. All right, we'll see. All right, right arm, weighted transform array, right arm, blah, blah, blah. So we've added it. So now we have a right arm array. So now we're going to we have our source objects, right? Because this is a weighted transform array. We're now going to make this equal to our right arm array. All right, I'm not going to do the other ones. Well, OBS just froze on me. Hopefully, we're able to recover the previous footage, which if you're watching this, we did, and you've already been watching it. But as I was hoping, it's just as simple as telling the rig builder to rebuild itself. So if we come over, you know what? I'm just going to copy that. Copy. And we're going to come here, and we're just going to rigbuilder.build. We don't know what the rig builder is, so we need to add a public rig builder, I guess. So where do we get the rig builder from? I'm going to look at this rig and see if it's part of this. We're just going to start by just getting our rig and see if we can get the rig builder from there. So we're going to say rig. We're just going to call it rig. While I was waiting for this to compile, you know what? I think the rig builder is, yeah, it's on the skeleton. So we can get the rig builder. So let's do rig builder, and then rig builder dot build. Huzzah. So now we should be able to come back over here. And so now we go to the player and we need our rig builder, which is on our skeleton. So just boink. We have that. So now let's play and see if it works. And boom, baby. We got a, it was just moving, I swear. There it is. We have a moving hand. Woo! All right, so now we can set up everything else. So we know that the right is working. So let's just copy this and let's paste this. And we're going to call this left arm array. And we're going to call this left arm WT. And this is going to be left controller. And this is going to be left arm array. And this is going to be copy paste. And this is going to be copy paste. And this is going to be left arm target. Great. And so can we do the same thing with the head? I think so. So let's come here and we're going to call this head array. And weighted transform is going to be head weighted transform. New weighted transform is going to be the camera looker. And we're going to say the head array. We're going to add the head weighted transform. And then we're going to say the head constraint is the head array. Save. Let's hit play. All right. And you can see my hands are working. And you know what? My left hand actually isn't aligned really well. Could have sworn we did that in our other video. My right hand's actually better than my left. So that was my problem, was basing my right on my left when my left wasn't working. But oh well. And yeah, my head should be turning. So you can't see it because I have the game window really tiny down here. Let's see, and let's make it nice and big. All right, but we have this issue. One, if we walk, our legs don't move. We're just kind of hovering like a ghost. And then two, I can see my body. I can have an out-of-body experience. So there's going to be several different options that we can do here. Really the easiest is to just disable your skin mesh renderer and then have another hand that's only visible to you. And the other players will see your full body. You won't see your full body. You'll just see your hands. Another thing you can play around with is adding some weights to like the chest and whatnot. But I'm just keeping this super simple because we could do that to where when you lean back, your head, neck, all those bones would kind of follow you. But then we're getting into like a full IK setup, and we're really just doing this as simple and easy as possible. So let's do, I guess, walking animations first. So before we do the animations, one thing that we need to do is we need to add a character controller to our XR origin. And what I probably would normally do is I probably wouldn't even be using the locomotion system stuff. because I would be having a character controller, and then I would control the character controller with my logic. But if I remember right, just adding a character controller to the XR origin, it doesn't conflict with the locomotion system, and I think you can still go up and down stairs and whatnot. So let's just try that. So let's just add a character controller. And let's turn on gizmos. All right, you can see it's offset, so we need to put the bottom of the controller basically at 0, which I think it's just up 1. Yeah. Turn off that photon. Let's turn off 3D icon. There we go. All right, so our origin is now touching the ground, and we should be pretty good at this point. Normally, I don't make it as wide. Usually, I like to put the radius at like 0.3, so it doesn't encompass the arms, but it kind of still gets the shoulders, and it makes it easier to like walk through tight spaces. Do what you want there. So let's just see if we can walk up the stairs that are on the other side of this thing here. All right, so I'm spawned. So to make this easier for you all to see, I'm going to click on the player. I'm going to Shift F. Wow. Let's hit F, Shift F. Really? Why do you think it's... I was going to say, this is a little trick that you can use. All right, let me click on the actual avatar. Let's look at our skeleton. What if I Shift F the skeleton? Okay, now I can zoom in a little bit. All right, and what if I move like that? Does it still maintain my focus? No. All right, it wants to look at my feet, so I'll just zoom out, and I think now... So I hit Shift F, and... Oh, wait, let me click in my game window. Why can't I walk? Why is my walking not working? There it goes. My left controller wasn't awake. There we go. All right. There we go. I'm... Okay, we're going to try getting these stairs. Good, we're going up things. Oh, no, I can't see. All right, so we're going upstairs. If we didn't have the character controller... So let's come over here. All right, if we didn't have the character controller, if we go to my XR origin and I turn off the character controller, we can just walk through stuff. All right, so keep in mind, our goal here is for multiplayer. So if our character controller is on the XR origin, which the rest of the players aren't going to see. So if you want your players to be able to collide with each other, you're probably also want to put colliders on the actual bodies. But in most VR experiences, you're probably going to want players to walk through each other just to make things easier. All right, so we have our character controller, and that's wonderful. So now what we have to do is we need to worry about animations. So because we're not setting up our own inputs and our own controls for moving the player, and we're just using what Unity has, we need a way to know how fast we're moving so we can tell our animator that we're moving. And if we look at the animator that's on the player, it's got a blend tree. So here's our base layer. So we have our blend tree, and it's judging the speed if we're idle, walking, or running. So we need to know how fast we're going. One thing we can do is we can get the controller, the character controller, and we can get our speed from that. And then we can feed that into our animator. But remember, this is not part of the actual player. So there's other ways we could be doing this, but if we remember from our, I don't know, was it this one? Player follow XR. Yeah. So if we have state authority, we find the XR origin. So we can do this exact same thing in another script for setting animation parameters. So if we go back to our player, and we can have a script for sending animation parameters. So let's go create C# script player animation parameters. How do you spell that? All right, I think it's finished compiling now. I'm just going to come up here and drop it on the player. And then I'm going to open it up. All right, so we need some things. I'm going to go ahead and do, it doesn't need to be public, so let's do private animator controller, right? Animator controller, animator Animator controller. I always forget if it's the animator I want or if it's the animator controller I want. It might just be the animator. I think it's the animator. So then private void awake. You know, we'll even do this. If animator is null, then yes, that's what I want, but I like my squigglies. Give me my squigglies. And let's put that there. All right, so we'll get the animator component if it's null. And then we need a character controller. All right. And so this we're going to do in start, and we're actually going to copy this from where? Where did I have that? It's not there. Here. Yeah, we're just going to copy the start state from our player follow XR. And where were we? Player animation parameters. Here's our start state. So we find out if we have state authority. We need to use Fusion. So using Fusion. I'm not going to use this. All right, and oh, apparently this is, I need a bool. Private has state authority. Authority? Oh, I need a private bool. Has state authority. And we're going to set this as false to start out. And then we need our, I don't need to store this, so we're just going to say our character controller is, we're going to find the XR origin, then get component character controller. And I don't need this bit. All right, so we see if we have state authority. If we do, we set the character controller component by finding the XR origin, getting the component character controller. Then on update, let's do a private float speed. We'll start it as 0f. On update, speed equals character controller dot, well, you know what? We need the bool if has state authority. Cut, paste. If has state authority, and because update could happen before start, no way. If has, but just to be safe, it has state authority and character controller is not equal to null. Then speed equals character controller dot velocity. Okay. Velocity, that's a what? A vector 3. So we want the magnitude. Thank you, Visual Studio IntelliSense. And then we're just going to tell the animator and the character controllers are equal to null. And just to be safe, and animator is not equal to null. Then the animator dot set float, and the float ID. Oh, we have to have the int ID. I think it's 0. Speed. It's got to be 0 because it's the first one here. I could have sworn we could do it by name. I'm pretty sure we can do a name here. Yeah, it's got overloads. Yeah, look, string name. Okay, that's all right, and it's just speed and speed or float. So that should be good, right? Speed, capital letter. Yeah, cool. So let's see if that works. So for some reason, it looks like our animation isn't looping. But while we're here, my run threshold I want to be 3. And I'm going to set my walk threshold to 1. So now you can see it's at least trying to do the run animation. No idea why it's not looping. It's got loop time set. That's pretty darn weird. That is pretty weird. I wonder if the animation rig is kind of messing it up a bit. So let's adjust that. So we're going to do that. Let's go back to the player. Here's our animator. Let's go to the main layers. Let's look at the base layer. And we don't have a mask, so we want a mask. I wonder if there's already one. Nope. So let's go to project. I don't have an animations folder, so let's just create one. Create folder animations. And right click, create avatar mask. No arm mask. I'm just gonna call it no arms. And let's just double click this guy. Oh, it's over here. Humanoid. And we don't want to handle these guys. Oh, also we don't want to do the head, because this is all handled by our rig that we set up. We'll let the animator go ahead and control everything else. So if we come over here to the animator, go to the base layer, find our mask, no arms mask. We might also need to put IK pass on, either here, or also we might need to apply root motion here. I can't remember. But I'm going to hit play and see what happens. So we got some like weird warning error here. I don't see anything over here. I don't know what this means. No idea what that means. But as you can see, we have the no arms mask. Blending is override. That's what we want. But my legs still aren't looping. So let's check out what happens if we apply root motion. Nothing. All right, let's uncheck root motion. Let's go over here and let's turn on IK pass. Nothing. Let's do apply root motion and IK pass. Nothing. You can see it's mad. It's not quite. It's getting stuck here for some reason. Notice that the float, the speed is like stuck at 2.3. Now we're at 3 and 0. I don't know if it's trying to. We're in run, but we're not looping the run. That's just so weird. I don't know why it's not looping the run. All right, so I fixed it. So this is why using other assets to kind of learn is great, but it's sometimes better just do your own thing after you learn how things work. Because the whole issue was in the animator on this bad boy, there was an additional multiplier added for the speed. And even though visually down here it didn't look like it was doing anything, because we weren't sending motion speed to it, it wasn't like doing. So I just unchecked that parameter, and now it seems perfectly happy, except for one other issue. So my arms are working. Get my other arm in there. Yeah, huzzah! And I can run, and I can still wave my arms when I'm running. Sometimes though, it does that. Okay, I'm not. It just gets stuck. And it makes no sense why it gets stuck, because we're basing the speed on the velocity of the character controller. So we're getting the magnitude of that, and it's sending that. So it's telling us the magnitude of the speed of the controller is 1.969 right now. I don't know what that is, or why that is. So I'm probably not going to look too much into that. You're welcome to Google that yourself. This is just to kind of teach you the basics of how we can set up IK in multiplayer. And it's moving, it's animating. Let's do a build. We're not all the way there yet, but let's do a build so you can see what's working so far. I'm getting a lot of weird Unity errors lately from Fusion. It says the typer namespace Fusion does not exist in namespace Photon Voice. That's really weird. I'm going to go see what's up with that. I don't ever remember adding this namespace. That's pretty weird. I'm going to go ahead and do Photon Voice like that. And also do using Fusion, because we probably need it, I imagine. But it's saying that we're not even using this in the Fusion connection, which makes 0 sense. But whatever, Visual Studio. So when trying to do a build, it's still angry. And Visual Studio is telling me I'm not using these 3 namespaces, so I'm just going to delete them because I feel like they're causing me issues. Let's try building again. I'm really confused about these build errors. Now I have one for the chat system. This is super weird. I wonder if I updated Fusion somehow. It's saying that this has already appeared previously in the namespace. I don't think I should be deleting this. I need to use Fusion. Maybe not. I don't know what's happened. Oh, it's because I have using Fusion right up there at the top. That's weird. All right, not sure how that happened. Let's try again. I don't know what's the deal with all these. It told me to use these namespaces, or they were added automatically by Visual Studio, and now they're hating them. This is inside the player animation parameters one. I thought I needed that, but maybe not. You know, I did switch. It was in Windows build mode, and so I had to switch the project to Android. And I wonder if when I did that, it added some things it didn't need, or the things it had added previously, it doesn't need an Android. So I wonder if that's what caused it. All right, so the build was successful. I haven't tried it yet. But one thing I'm going to do while I test this is I'm going to disable XR on startup on desktop mode so that when I hit play, it doesn't try to connect to my headset. This might be a bit complicated now because I have to type into this input field, but yeah, I can just use my keyboard. And we're going to create a room. Okay, so there's that guy. Getting some fusion errors, but I don't think that's going to matter. Now let me put my headset on. I got to start over because the logic apparently doesn't work if I don't password protect the room. So I'm going to do this again. So I actually had to create the room in the VR headset because I think I forgot to add the tracked device, Raycaster, or whatever, onto the actual joining room canvas. So in the headset, I can't actually type the passcode in for the room. So I was still able to create the room in VR. So now we'll just join with the editor like so. And editor, submit, join. And then passcode was 123, join. Cool, we're in. Hopefully both players are here. I'm gonna try walking forward. We're not seeing it. We're having some sort of error. Found missing network behavior reference in network behaviors. Rebaking of object is required. That's really unfortunate because that means I'm gonna have to rebuild. That stinks. So this has been happening more and more, but it should just be as simple as going to Fusion, rebuild prefab table. So now that I've rebuild, I'm going to just try hitting play with, or not rebuilding. Now since I rebuilt the prefab table. Since I've done that, I'm just going to try playing and see if I still get those errors. All right, so that didn't work. So I think what I need to do is I need to actually go get the player and bring it in here. And look at the network object. This object hasn't been baked yet, so save the scene with the player in the scene. And then delete and hit play again. So it's still having the issue. I don't know what's going on here. It's our Fusion Manager. It's got the right player prefab here. We open it. There's our network object. It seems happy enough. We don't have any other network objects as a child, right? Yeah, can't imagine. I don't know what this thing's problem is. Rebuild the prefab table again? Oh, there's a missing network behavior reference in the network behaviors list on the network object of the player. Wow. So here's our player. Here's our network object. Here's our baked data. Here's our networked behaviors. I don't know what it says is missing. It looks fine to me. I don't know what the heck this network object get word count is. I keep getting suspicious that me changing these play mode settings is doing something. But on both my projects I'm working on right now where I've ran into weird fusion errors, it has not been related to this. But I'm going to check. And I'm going to hit play and see what happens. I'm also double checking to make sure I don't have an extra player still sitting in the scene. And there's not one. This is really, really weird. Create passcode. Found a missing network behavior reference. But what is it? It says it's on ID none, player clone. So the player clone should have an ID. Rebaking the object required. I think I just have to quit Unity. Yeah, that seemed to fix it. I quit it, reopened it, hit play. Seems fine. Weird. I guess I'll try to build it to the headset now. All right, let's hit play. I'm already in VR. Let's see. What? I have a game object destroyed that I'm trying to access? What? I'm ignoring that. All right, so I'm just going to type editor. I know you can't really see this, but you don't really need to. And there's the room. I'm going to join, and the passcode should be 123. And I'm going to join. Haha! Look at that. We have 2 players in the scene, but you're probably not going to see my hands move. Let me make sure that they are moving. Yeah. Hello, I am moving my hands. Can you see me wave at you, editor? No, you can't, but you can see me rotate. Can you see my walking animation? You sure can. I am sprinting. There's this little error down there for there's an animation event on the animation to try to play footstep sounds. We're not going to worry about that. But yeah, so we're super close. We only have one more thing to do, and that's to make sure that we can see the hand movement across the network. Honestly, I think this bit should be pretty easy because we don't have to code anything. So we're just going to come into the player, and we're going to go to our rig, and I think because it's not the source objects that are controlling the bones. It's... What is it? All right, so I just hit play one more time with the headset on so I can see what we can see. So ASDF, this is the player in the editor. This one over here is the one in VR. So let's see what we can see on the rig. So here's our rig. We have the rig, our head constraint. We don't know what our source object is. So we can't see what the source object is on the head because the source object is the looker on the XR rig. And if I turn my head, the head constraints transform doesn't actually change. Of course, because we haven't synced any of that. Let me see locally. Locally, if I do skeleton, rig, head constraint, and my source object is the looker. So let's lock the inspector. Let's go to my looker, and I'm just going to move this. So the head's moving, but the head constraint transform doesn't change at all. And really what's moving is the bones, right? So if I go to my spine, because we're constraining the head. So if I go to my head and I lock the head, and then I go back to my head constraint. No, if I go to my looker, right, I move the looker and the head bone changes. I don't want to have to add a network transform, though, to the head. I mean, adding to just the head would be fine. I don't want to have to also add it to the hand, the lower arm, and the upper arm, too. I mean, I can do it. I just don't want to I don't want to. The right arm is basing everything off of the right arm target. And I think the right arm target's transform does move. So if we go to the right controller, let's lock that. If we go to the right controller and we move this, it does change the right arm targets. So I think what we do is we put a network transform on the head bone, and we put network transforms on the hand targets. So let's try that. All right, let me quit this. All right, so on it's all gonna be on the player. So if we go to hips, spine, chest, upper chest, neck, head, add component, network transform. Oh, it's going to want an interpolation target. The newer version of Fusion is not going to require that, but it's annoying. I don't know what I want my interpolation. Let's just create an empty head interpolation target. Go there, head interpolation target. Okay. And then let's go to the right arm target. And we're going to add a network transform here. It was already there. It's going to want an interpolation target. Dag nabbit. Come on. Working in prefabs is painful. Because I have autosave on. If I turn that off, it probably wouldn't be as painful. I'm turning autosave off. There we go. All right, so right arm target, network transform. We're going to create an empty. Interpolation target. Right arm target. Network transform. Interpolation target. And then we go to the left arm, left hand target, add component, network transform, right click, create empty, interpolation target, and drag it in. So in theory, we have network transforms and everything we need network transforms on. Control S to save that. Back out, and now I'm gonna try build. All right, moment of truth here. All right, so you can see this is the editor guy, and this is the VR guy. VR guy is kind of walking a little bit. I don't know why the controller speed thing is so jacked up. Maybe do it based on inputs. I don't know. But put on my headset. Hi, I'm waving at you, and you can see it. Hey, I'm waving, and I'm walking. There we go. Turning my head so it works over the network. I'm done with this series. You want me to do more? Comment down below. But if I'm going to continue more VR stuff, somebody requested that I do like grabbing cubes and transferring state of ownership and whatnot. I don't think I'm going to unless this video gets at least 10 likes. And then if you want to see me do transfer of ownership for grabbing things in VR, put that down in the comments. And if that comment gets 3 likes, I'll do it. But this video needs 10 likes, that comment needs 3 likes, and I'll do it. These are painful because I keep having to put the headset on and doing builds, and it takes like 3 times as long to make one of these videos versus one of my other ones. Or you can come to Patreon, because I really listen to my Patreons about stuff they want me to do, so go check out my Patreon page, patreon.com/PhilipHurlitz. Support links all down below. We'll see you next time.